may not know me, my name is Holly Deachman, and I am the president and CEO of Batavia Chamber of Commerce. When we come up with new ideas for presentations, it's often because a member has approached us with a need. In this case, we perceived our own need, and I'm so glad that so many of you are here. But often when we are looking to try to promote your organizations online through Facebook post shares and things like that, we'll see some of the conversations that are around your post. And we also see it from things that are going on within our community as well. People sometimes don't have that natural reaction that might be most beneficial to their own brand or their own personal, how they're showing themselves within our community. So we started thinking about how could we put out an educational program to people and try to serve that need. So thank you all for joining us. There's some people I wish were here, to be honest.
Put them up on Facebook after this.
Yeah, right. We're just talking about how, like, Facebook shaming and how bad that is. So thank you for joining us this morning. I hope that you are fully educated on this topic when you walk out, and how we try to ensure that is by bringing in one of our local experts. This is Brian Basilico from B2B Interactive Marketing. I have worked with Brian for several years, even before my time here at the Batavia Chamber. He has been on our board of directors for 5 years, former president or chair of our board. And he's just the guy that people turn to when it comes to especially topics on social media. So I really respect him. Obviously you all do too, because you've taken your time out of your days to be here with us today. I'm now going to read his official bio on the back of this handy book that he happens to have But Brian Basilico is a nationally recognized best-selling author of It's Not About You, It's About Bacon, Relationship Marketing in a Social Media World, and a speaker, trainer, adjunct professor. He brings over 30 years of marketing experience to, you were like 5 when you started?
I did, yes.
To his award-winning internet marketing company, B2B Interactive Marketing, Inc. Brian is a syndicated blogger and a sought-after guest expert featured in Entrepreneur and Inc. magazines, articles, radio shows, and podcasts. Without further ado, Mr. Brian Basilico.
Thank you, Holly. Well, thank you guys. I'm so glad that you're here. This is the first time I'm actually giving this presentation. Holly asked me to put it together for you. So I had to do a lot of research and do a lot of work to figure out what is the needs that the community would have. But before we get started, I want to show you guys a little movie. So I'm assuming now everybody's hungry for bacon, right? Is there any bacon on the menu today? I don't know. Okay. And I've spoken at a couple of conferences. I speak all over the country. There's one conference that I did that I actually hired a chef 15 minutes before I started to speak in the back of the room, and he was sitting there cooking bacon. So everybody in the conference was walking down the hall smelling it and came into my room. So it's a very attractive thing. But actually, there's a lot behind the bacon. I don't have time to get into the whole thing. But it's a brand, and it stands for Building Authentic Connections Online Networking. So building authentic connections online networking. That's part of the brand. And it actually started with my first book, It's Not About You, It's About Bacon. Now when I first started writing this book, it was going to be a how-to book on how to do social media. The problem is I got 3 chapters in and the book was obsolete. That's how fast this stuff changes. And so I turned it into a why-to book, and it was originally called It's Not About You, Relationship Marketing in a Social Media World. And I was sitting down meeting with Britta McKenna, and because I networked so much, I was posting pictures of bacon on Facebook. She said to me, she says, no, the name of your book is It's Not About You, It's About Bacon. And it just kind of took off from there. So the second book I actually wrote as I was writing the first book. This is actually a bunch of blog posts that I did for a year, 365, and turned it into 101 networking tips. And actually Ellen Huxtable helped me write a handful of those as well. So she was in there. And then the third book that I did was a workbook, which was also done by Ellen for me, because the first book is now being taught in college level classes. And so it's being taught at Central Washington University, Olivet Nazarene. I'm an adjunct professor at both of those places. And so here's a picture of the book and the class. That's one of the classes that I taught via Skype. And then the fourth and final book, which I've written, I'm actually working on my fifth, is called The Bacon System, Sizzling Hot Recipes That Grow Your Business. And what that book is about is a complete online marketing system. So my job is to teach people how to use social media or online marketing or content marketing to grow their business. That's pretty much what I do. Now, this presentation we're going to focus on today is your reputation. And the whole point of the reputation is you want to avoid reviews that just take away money. And I'm going to show you how to manage your reputation and to be proactive and take proactive action. Now, one of the things that I call myself is a professional student, and that's what I do. I spend about 50% of my time learning all of these different things. Now, think about all the different social media that's out there. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, and now you've got Snapchat, you've got Instagram, you've got all these different platforms, and these are all places that social media is happening. And part of the deal that you got to understand is, even if you're not on all of those platforms, that doesn't necessarily mean that people aren't talking about you on those platforms. And that's the thing that you got to think about, is that even if you don't want to be on Twitter, all right, somebody may be on Twitter talking about your business. Somebody may be on Twitter talking about you. It doesn't necessarily mean they can't take a screenshot from something that you posted on Facebook and post it into Twitter and start commenting on it. Or they could post it into Instagram. So one of the things that you have to be aware of is you have to make sure that you're at least aware of all these different social media platforms that are out there and try to find a way to monitor it. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that that's relatively simple. That's going to help you as you go along. Now, I have a free bonus for you guys. I have a workbook bundle. You can decide to get it if you want to. This is actually all the homework from the Bacon System, but there's a bunch of worksheets in there. There's a perfect avatar worksheet, website worksheet, social media worksheet. They're all there. All you have to do is text B2Bacon to 444999. What happens is it's going to ask you for your email address. You fill in the email. And once you confirm it, then it'll give you a link and get you directly to all of those. There's 25 worksheets. It's worth $97. All I'm doing is adding you to my email list. And all I broadcast on my email list, generally speaking, is what I do every single week. I have a podcast called the Bacon Podcast. So every Monday, I do what's known as a monocast. Every Wednesday, I do a guest expert interview. And these experts are some of the brightest minds in online marketing, social media. There's all kinds of topics. So if you want to learn about Instagram, there's a podcast about it. Then on Tuesdays, I blog. All right? And what I do on Thursdays is I take those two podcasts and the blog and I say, here's the free content for you this week. And that's generally what I do, is I just remind you what's out there. So if you want to learn more about the specific topics, all of that is sitting there for you. So if you don't want to, go through the whole motion of that, you can always just send me an email, find me on social media. I'd be happy to show you where to sign up on the list so you get those reminders. Or you can just go to any of the websites that I show you at the end, and there's a sign-up form on there. So I know you guys are eating, but are you ready to learn something? Right? Okay. So I'm going to start off with 3 basic truths that you have to understand when it comes to managing your reputation online. So the first truth is this: you do not own your internet reputation. No matter what you do not own it. You may have a Facebook account, you may have a Twitter account, a LinkedIn account, and all this other stuff. You don't own it. The problem is the internet properties own it. So they can pick and choose whether they want to keep up negative or incorrect information about you and your business. And it's often very, very hard with these free social media platforms to get a hold of anybody to help you. So, and if you get a bad review, let's say in Google or Yelp or something like that, again, it's very, very hard to get those taken away. So the thing is, you have to think about, is your reputation is one of the currencies of your business, right? I mean, you want to have positive reviews. Everybody loves 5-star reviews on their business. Everybody wants to have great customer stories out there. But occasionally, for no fault of your own, there may be somebody out there who's unhappy with what you did for them. And you know what they do? They'll end up going to some social media and posting it. I'll tell you one of the fastest ways. How many people have Comcast? Okay? This is the fastest way to get a response from Comcast. You just go into Twitter and you put in the hashtag Comcast sucks, and they will contact you immediately. Now, I'm pretty techie. I know my way around stuff, all right? So I know how to reboot a modem. I understand IP addresses. I know all the stuff. When I don't have the patience to talk to the first level people a lot of the time, because it's, okay, let's go reset your router. I did all of that stuff. I need to do it with you. So it could take up to a half hour. One time I had to call 5 times to solve a problem because the internet kept going out and out and out. So finally I just put up Comcast sucks, the hashtag Comcast sucks in there, and immediately I got a call from a second level tech, and we solved the problem in 15 minutes. So sometimes it pays to do that, but Comcast has a whole team. They have a complete team of people that do nothing but monitor social media to try to problem solve for people. Think about all of the things that we've been hearing about lately. What about United Airlines? What about that? You think that that video that those people took isn't hurting their business? Well, guess what? One of the top news stories today is a big bunny died on United Airlines. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And cell phones are everywhere. So people can put out information about you in a heartbeat without you knowing it. Truth number 2, only one person can manage your reputation, and that is you. All right? You can either assign somebody, like, Karen, if you want to assign your social media person to monitor it, that's fine. But the bottom line is you need to be the person who answers the questions. All right? It has to come from you. If it comes from a representative, it looks like you don't care. And that can be a real problem. And we've talked about some of that stuff and how you've gone through it. And it wasn't necessarily, not your fault, not 100% true, but still the negativity was out there. And as a matter of fact, that person even contacted me to let me know directly, and a bunch of other people. So that's online shaming. And you have to meet that stuff head on. So what you have to do is you have to monitor what you post, and you have to monitor other people's posts, okay? So if you post something, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, is I'll post something up online, and all of a sudden, what I call a troll will get in there and start taking it off a completely different direction. And they'll start saying things that have absolutely nothing to do with what I posted to get their points across. And then all of a sudden, I've got my friends fighting on my post, So I have 2 choices there. I can either, get in the middle of it, or I can take it down. Or I can defriend the person who's being the troll. That's 3 choices. But the bottom line is you need to monitor all of that stuff. So in the case of this one thing that I posted, I had 154 views. All right, just knowing how many views you get is one thing, but knowing who's looking at it, who's commenting on it, who's liking it, and more importantly, who's sharing it. Because you got to go see if somebody shares your stuff, is their share, because it's connected to your account in one way, shape, or form, is their share getting negative reviews too. So it takes a little bit of time to do this, but it has to be done. And there are tools that can help you monitor, and I'm going to show you a bunch of those. There are tools that are going to help you monitor all of this stuff, but the bottom line is you have to learn to use them, number 1, and number 2, you have to be consistent about it. I'm a firm believer, I have systems. That's my whole business is built on systems, the bacon system. Every Monday, I've got a podcast. Every Tuesday, I have a blog. Every Wednesday, I've got another podcast. Every Thursday, I've got an email going out. I would say pick a day of the week and make sure that you're going through, schedule it into your calendar and go through your internet. Go see what people are doing. So it behooves you, even if you're not going to post on Twitter, to get a Twitter account. And then go search your name. Look for your business, all of those kind of things. You want to be checking that stuff out. So you have to consistently do this. Okay, that's why I say if you schedule it, it will get done. If you just say, hey, I'm going to go and check this, and then you go back and all of a sudden you get 5 phone calls and you're doing all these other things, and it's not in your calendar, the chances of you actually doing it are going to diminish. So make sure that you have it in your schedule as something that you want to and need to do. Okay, so in doing this presentation, I wanted to do some research about online marketing, reputation management, and stuff like this. And one of my friends recommended this book. It's by John Ronson. I always want to say Ron Johnson. Yeah, it's my ADD. But it's John Ronson, and it says, the title of the book is So You've Been Publicly Shamed. And it's a really good book about all the different things that can happen to you. Now I'm going to tell you the story about one person who got shamed, a simple little tweet. But what I learned from this book is that public shaming dates back all the way, into the early America and was actually outlawed in the late 1800s. All right? So, people, if they did something wrong, I'm not going to get into the details of what they did wrong, but if they did something wrong, they lied, they cheated, they stole, they did something, they would get put into a stockade in the middle of the square. Didn't care if it was raining, thundering, lightning, whatever, they'd be put out there, and depending on what the level of what they did, they would be sitting out there for hours. Some could be sitting out there for days. Some of them were whipped in public. And public shaming was very common back in the 16, 17, 1800s. Then they finally outlawed it. All right, so no more public shaming. But then what happened? The internet came along, right? And public shaming is very easy to do. Anonymous public shaming is very easy to do. So the internet makes it a heck of a lot easier. Some could be your legit customers. If you get a problem from a legit customer, you meet it head on and you talk to them and say, how can I make this better? And if I make this better, if I solve your problem, go over and above, would you be willing to take down that post? You have to get the person on your side first and then see if you can get them to take the post down. The second one is trolls and bots, okay? A troll is somebody that's just out there to make a mess. There are people that do nothing but go on the internet and just want to cause havoc. But the other thing that's out there that a lot of us don't know about is something called Twitter bots. And what a Twitter bot does, as a matter of fact, there were Twitter bots throughout the entire last election that were posting fake news stories all over Twitter. And those fake news stories actually seemed like they were legit, and people were retweeting them. But there wasn't a human being doing it. It was actually a computer program. So when the news said something, the bot would basically take that information, go find a story that would contradict what that positive story was, and just start posting and posting and posting and posting and posting, and people bid on it. And that same stuff can happen to you. Somebody can see something that you post and take what you post and repost it with a different tag on it or a different link on it to say, I beg to differ. And it may not be even a human being. It could be just a computer program. And some of the people out there doing this could be your competition. All right? Your competition may be out there independently trying to knock you down. I've seen this happen time and time again. I've seen competitors go into Yelp and go into Google and give people 1-star reviews and just constantly do it and then get everybody in their office to do it. So there's a whole bunch of 1-star reviews in there. And those are sometimes very hard to get taken away. You have to be able to prove who's doing it. So a lot of times competitors will post negative things about you so that they rise up in the search engines, because the higher your reviews are on Google, the higher they show up. So there's definite methodology to this. So here's a tweet. I'm going to read it to you. It's by a woman named Justine Sacco, and this was in the book. And she did this in 2013. She was getting on a plane she was actually from New York to London, and then London to South Africa. She posted this right before the plane took off. By the time the plane landed in South Africa, there was 1 million retweets. And they were not pretty. Just imagine the most vile, mean, dirty things that anybody could ever say about a woman. And there were people out there putting that out there. And that's one of the things about Twitter. Twitter doesn't have a conscience. Facebook, if you start putting that kind of stuff up on Facebook, Facebook will not only turn off that, it could be reported, but they can shut you down and take you off in a heartbeat. But in Twitter, it doesn't have a conscience. So some of the stuff that was posted was so vile, and she meant it as a joke. And since you guys are having a hard time reading, it says, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS, just kidding, I'm white. Right? Yeah, horrible. She thought it was funny. When she landed, the hotels refused to let her in because they could not guarantee her safety. That's how mad people were, and that's how fast it spread. So, sometimes a simple little tweet, a simple little comment can actually create so much havoc. And in the end, she got fired from her job. She got fired. The day after she got back, she had to go. As a matter of fact, they met her in the lobby. She couldn't even walk upstairs. And her life was ruined from that point, from one little tweet. All right? So, what I've learned is, through this book, is women are often shamed more than men. They're often shamed, and they're shamed more, personally, and generally with terms that I cannot say or would never repeat in room in ways that are just disgusting, all right? And often it's our own actions. Often we do things that we don't intend to be taken a certain way, and people will take it the wrong way, or they'll use it against us. People can be vicious. People can be absolutely vicious. They feel empowered when they comment on your stuff. They feel like they're affecting you, all right? And I'm sure everybody in this room has seen political arguments on Facebook, okay? How many people's views have been changed by somebody beating them down on Facebook? None, right? But still, people think that they're going to change other people's minds by, posting fake news or sending them to, doing things that they're trying to convince them because they're right and you're wrong, and you have no right to say that, right? So the bottom line is you can still be right and still be wronged, right? It doesn't necessarily, you can be 100% correct and people will still beat you down. And then finally, it's really hard to remove negative reviews. So there are 3 ways to react to this, and 3 ways that you can take action against it. The first one is post carefully. Whatever you're posting, think before you hit send, all right? Same thing when you're writing an email, right? If you're writing an email to somebody that is a little bit off, or you're responding to something, the best advice anybody could ever give you is don't hit send, stand up, walk away, go get a glass of water, take 5 minutes, and then come back and reread it. Because as you're writing it, your temperature's going up, right? So walk away from it, get a glass of water, or a glass of wine if you prefer. Right, Margaret? Get a glass of water, get a glass of wine, whatever you want to do, but then go back and reread it. And think about reading it from the other person's perspective and how they might see it. All right? So that's number 1. Number 2, as I said, is to monitor what's out there. You've got to spend some time looking at as many platforms as you can. You may not want to be on Instagram, but it does not hurt to be on Instagram. You don't have to post anything. Just search and see if your name is being mentioned. Search your name, search your business, search your kids. This happens to kids as well. And then finally, you have to attack the negative stuff. You can't just let the negative stuff hang out there. You've got to be proactive about it. People are looking for you on the internet all the time. They're looking for you, they're looking for your business, they're using cell phones, they're using desktop, they're using tablets and all those other things. And primarily where they're looking for it is in Google. All right? Now, Facebook does not show up in Google searches, but LinkedIn does. Twitter does. So occasionally, you can end up showing up in a search and not even know it because it's sitting out there. And this stuff changes so rapidly. Sorry to do this while you're eating. But it's changing so rapidly, that you've got to pay attention to it. And it sounds like a lot of work. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lot of work, but it's something that you've got to pay attention to. So don't be too overwhelmed with all of this. Just do those 3 things, all right? Post carefully. Know what you're posting. Think about it before you hit send. Make sure that you're monitoring your name, your business, your brands. And then also take action on the negative and do it immediately. The faster you can respond to a negative tweet or negative comment or a negative review, the faster you're going to get, you'll have a lot better chance of getting it taken care of. Excuse me. So let's start off with posting carefully. All right? So what you want to do is start with your perfect customers and friends. All right? Think about, most of us are posting towards our friends and our customers, right? That's usually what we're doing anyways. But you got to realize that sometimes if somebody retweets something or reposts something, they can be sharing it to their friends, which is one of the bonuses. If Karen's having a sale, and she puts up a picture of this beautiful ring, and one of her friends, one of the people who like her business sees it, and then they repost it saying, check out this beautiful ring. That's a beautiful thing, right? Because now they're sharing it with friends of friends of friends. But when it comes to the negative side of things, the same thing can happen. So you got to be careful about it. So, funny is a relative term, right? Funny is relative. So what you want to try to do is avoid controversy best you can. All right? You want to try to avoid politics, religion, obviously sex, and cursing and more. All right? I have a policy on my Facebook, and the bottom line is, I'll let people go that far, but if they push the limit, I delete their comment, number 1, and then I instant message them and say, look, it is no cursing on my posts. And, then, they come back and try it again. I immediately delete it, and I delete them as a friend. Because it's my brand, I have to manage it, okay? And I don't allow that to happen. So you have to take control of your own brand. You got to be careful, when you're posting anything political, anything religious, because 50% of the people are not going to agree with you, all right? Especially when it comes to your business and your brand. Some people don't care, they do it. I don't want to work with anybody that doesn't believe the way that I do, that's fine. But that can be a cause for a problem as time goes on. And make sure that you're interacting and reacting with people no matter what happens. So when you post something, just don't post and run. You've got to go back and check it. You got to see if people are commenting, see what people are saying, see if people are liking it. What are they doing? So make sure you're the one in control of everything. So try calm responses first. Next thing is watch others' comments. People can start fights. If people are starting fights online, try to moderate it first and just say, hey guys, please cut it out. Especially if they're people that you know, like, and trust, and you don't want to have to get into a whole mess. If it goes too far, delete the comments. And if they take it to another level, delete the people. Won't stop them from maybe mentioning you even if you delete them. But, you just got to send a message that this is not allowed. It's my post. I own it. Unfriend trolls, own your brand. So the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure you're monitoring your name and your brands, okay? And you have to be active about this. Now, only reason I put this picture up is because branding is a tool, all right? I'm not a fan of sticking hot irons on horses. I'm not saying that. But in the olden days, going back to the stockades, the only way that a farmer or a rancher could identify their cattle or identify their animals is they used a hot iron to put that brand out there, all right? And that's essentially what you have to think about. Sometimes there's a hot iron out there with your brand. You got to pay attention to it. So, first thing you want to do is make sure you're protecting your brand assets. And that includes your brand, your name, your business, other products and services. Watch them all, right? Make sure you're monitoring all of those things, not just your name, not just your business name, but even your brand. So if somebody's posting something funky about my books, I have to make sure that I'm, paying attention to that. If somebody decides to write a bad review on Amazon on my book, who's never read it, because they're angry, I have to monitor that. So I got to make sure I'm paying attention to it. So there's a bunch of monitoring tools out there that you can use. The first one is do a Google search. Right? It's the easiest one. And here's the thing. Don't just do a Google search and do it with each one of the things that I talked about. Start with your name, all right? Now, Brian Basilico, Basilico actually in Italian means basil, so you can call me Herb. But the problem with Basilico is that it shows up as, basil. It shows up as restaurants. It shows up as a whole bunch of other things. So in order for me to really check my brand, you put it in quotes, all right? In double quotes here, double quotes at the end, and say Brian Basilico. And that way, when I do that, everything Brian Basilico shows up. Now, don't stop at just the first page. Because just because it's not on the first page does not mean there might not be something bad on the second, third, fourth, and fifth, or sixth, or seventh. So, spend some time, go through and look at all those other pages, and make sure and see if your name is being mentioned on any other websites. If there's any images, make sure you check the images tab too, and see if Google is finding an image maybe with your name associated with it that's a bad image. I've seen that happen many a time. People don't check it. And then, of course, looking at any other kind of posts where your name may be mentioned. The title may not have Brian Basilico in there, okay, but in the context, it'll show you Brian Basilico in the middle of the post, right below it. So make sure you're checking that. And you want to make sure that you're doing it for the same thing, for your business. And make sure you do, like, I'm B2B Interactive Marketing. I have to do B2B Interactive Marketing in quotes. I have to do B2B Interactive Marketing Inc. in quotes. And I have to do B2B Interactive Marketing, comma, Inc. quotes to check all the time. Now, luckily, I have not found much. Yes?
Isn't there a way to set it up so that whenever there's a post like of your name, it will automatically notify you?
That's called Google Alerts. You, are you clairvoyant? Yeah. So Google Alerts will do the same thing for you, all right? But the problem with Google Alerts is it only is going to notify you when something new happens, all right? It doesn't necessarily notify you of history. So you do the same thing. You can see that it's really hard to read, but I got B2B Interactive Marketing in quotes. I got Brian Basilico in quotes. You can monitor yourself. You can monitor your competition. You can monitor your clients if you want to. So what you do is do your name, your business, and narrow versus broad. Like I say, broad is if I put in Brian Basilico, it's going to give me everything with the word Basilico in it. All right? So, K, just the letter K. It'll see the letter K, and everything with the letter K in it will show up. So make sure you're doing that. The exact matches in quotes, and you might want to check your clients as well. Another monitoring tool, which I just found as I was doing some research for this, is something that is called Talk Walker Alerts. It's TLAKWalker TalkWalkerAlerts.com. Now, Talk Walker Alerts is something that will send you from not only online properties like Google and websites and things like that, but also in blog posts and social media. So I did a Google alert, and my name never showed up. I went to Talk Walker Alerts. I gave 3 speeches last week, and I found 2 articles about my speeches that I didn't even know that were in blogs. So it does basically the same thing. It'll monitor social media. There's another one called Social Mention. I've used that one. That doesn't seem to have quite the same oomph to it that TalkWalker did. I got more results from TalkWalker, but check it out, socialmention.com. And then the last one is Hootsuite. If you use Hootsuite, you can actually use that to monitor as well. You can set up alerts inside of Hootsuite. The other thing that you can do too is you can have columns in there. So you could set up a column with Brian Basilico, and anytime your name is mentioned, it'll show you all the mentions, or your business name. So Hootsuite's a great way to monitor. Twitter primarily is the best way to do it, but you can also monitor LinkedIn. Most of these things have a much harder time doing anything inside of Facebook because the Facebook algorithm is not easy to do searches on. So the other monitoring tool to think about is something called Clout, which just monitors your social influence. It's KLOUT.com. But also what it does is it monitors you on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Google+, all those other things. So it gives you an opportunity to see what's happening across all social media. So it's a good thing to check. The next thing that you want to make sure that you do is take action on the negative information that's out there. Okay? when bad things break, which they do occasionally, it could be like negative reviews. You want to check your Google reviews. You want to check Yelp. Facebook, you can actually get reviews on Facebook for your business. So see what's being posted in there. Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't alert you as much, if you're getting good reviews or bad reviews. Yelp, unless you're paying for it, you don't have any control over it. Google, people can go in there and put in whatever they want. There is a way, if you can get a hold of Google, you can dispute a review with them if you get a bad negative review, especially if you can kind of prove that it's competition or something like that. So the questions you have to ask is it legit? Is it a legit person actually doing something? That's the first thing you want to know is if you have a real customer that put in a bad review, what's the first thing you're going to do? You want to get in contact with the customer. You want to call them up. You want to send them a message, send them an email. Hey, I saw a really, really bad review of my business or myself. What's wrong? How can I fix it? How can I make it better? So you have to be human about that. The second question you have to ask yourself, is it a real customer? All right? Could it be somebody else posing as somebody else? It could be the competition who knows one of your customers and posts a bad review based on them. It's a little harder to do unless they can get into, like in Google, you have to sign into your Google in order to actually post a review. You can't just go in there randomly and do it. So you have to have a Gmail account. But in other places, you don't have to. You can act like it's somebody else. Especially in Twitter, you could put in, this really sucks, and they could put in an @ symbol in your handle and say, that it's you giving the review or somebody else giving the review. So you got to be careful of that. And as I said, is it a competitor, that's doing that, or is it a troll that's doing that? You may do something in Facebook, and like I say, you've defriended somebody, and the next thing you know, they're over on LinkedIn posting bad things about you, or they're in Twitter posting bad things, or Instagram, or something like that. So again, you want to pay attention to all of that stuff. So the next steps, like I said, number one, contact the person. Can you make it better? It could also be an opportunity to save a customer. That's really what you have to look at it, is this is my opportunity, because we all know, it takes 10 times more effort to get a new customer than it does to keep a current customer happy. Right? So if you have to go an extra mile to do that, why not spend the time and the energy to make that happen? So if you can't do anything, if they're just unhappy and they're not going to work with you, then think about what are your next steps, okay? How can you counteract this? Maybe you put up and say, if people are unhappy, I really wish that you would contact us direct before putting things on social media. We always strive to do the best customer service we can possibly give. Contact us and we will do our best to help you resolve any issues. So just be upfront. Sometimes you just have to put out an apologetic statement, and that might help you, at least get some other people from not paying as much attention to that one negative comment. You also got to think about what are all your other customers seeing and saying and that kind of stuff. So sometimes you just have to be proactive with a positive statement. The other next steps is contact the website. All right? Try to get a hold of. You get a bad Yelp review, contact Yelp and see if you can get it taken down. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Especially if you can prove whether it's a legit or not legit person, or it's a competitor, or something along those lines. If you can prove somehow that that is a false review, they're going to be more apt to take it down, because they don't want false information up there either. All right? Because it discredits their platform. And they want to, Google is really, they're absolutely vicious. And most people don't know this, but you can be taken off of Google like that. And the reason is because if you're doing things that's hurting competition, if you're putting up misinformation, if you're posting things on blogs or doing something that's being seen by them that is false, inaccurate, and potentially could hurt somebody, they will shut you down in a heartbeat. I don't think anybody in this room probably ever had that happen, but I know people who have. I actually have a podcast on that particular topic with an expert interview, and it blew me away how many companies actually get blocked. I didn't know. Until you get blocked, you never know. I got blocked once from Facebook. And the only things I really do is I post a quote of the day in the morning and a caption contest at night, right? You're on them all the time. That's pretty much, and then I'll post maybe a picture from today or, something that I'm doing, but I'm not out there posting a lot of crazy stuff. Well, I don't know if somebody reported me for something that they didn't like, because if somebody reports you and you don't know it, they don't tell you. So all of a sudden, I log into Facebook and says, your account has been disengaged. Please contact tech support. And then I checked the tech support thing, and they needed me to take a picture of my driver's license and take off the pertinent information like my driver's license number, and I had to send it to them, and I had to wait a week before they finally let me back in. I had to prove that I was myself. I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody trolled me. I don't know if somebody reported me. And that stuff can happen. So you got to be proactive and make sure you're paying attention to that. So again, if you can't fix it, all you can do is try to make it a little bit better. So the final steps are this, all right? Excuse me. What you can do, and actually I've had a bunch of customers over the course of the year that I've worked with, or years that I've worked with for reputation management. Primarily they've been lawyers and politicians. And what happens is they get a bad something, okay? It's a news story that talks about, they're a fraud, they've done this. I mean, most of the lawyers did something bad in court and got temporarily disbarred, all right? And so the only way that you can solve this problem, because that article is showing up at every single one of them, the article showed up at the very, very top of Google searches when you search that person's name. The reason it showed up that way is because the website that was reporting the information had a very, very high ranking inside of Google. Most of them were newspapers, or they were reports, they were basically lawyer reports from the state of Illinois or something along those lines. So they get a ton of traffic, they have a ton of authority, and Google pushes all that stuff to the top. So there's only one way to move that down, and that is to post better information with more authority. Now, there's a company that used to advertise, and it was also mentioned in this book that I talked about, So You've Been Publicly Shamed. It's called Reputation.com. They're based out of California. They'll be happy to do it for you, but they'll charge you $100,000 to start. There are people out there that will pay that. $100,000, and what they do is they flood the internet with information, and they know the Google algorithm enough to be able to get information, not just putting it on a blog, but then getting that blog shared on other blogs that have authority to start pushing that down. And to get it to page 2 is really hard. You have to get a lot of interaction, you have to post a lot of stuff, and it takes a long time. It could take 3 to 6 months before you start to see anything happen. And the problem is that a lot of people don't have the patience to do that, or the time, because they have to write their own blogs, they have to do their own information. Unless they want to pay somebody to do it, I'm happy to hire a blog writer at $150 a blog, but you got to do, 50 blogs. It's going to add up really quick. And then somebody's got to get them posted everywhere. And then somebody's got to get them posted. I know you are, right? Yeah. Yeah. Call Shirley if that happens. But then they got to get posted, and then they have to be shared on other authority sites, so that it's getting, and what an authority site is something that they recognize Google as being a site that gets a lot of traffic and has a high ranking, and is also known as a legit website and not just some fake website. So you have to make sure that it's getting shared on all those things. So that's about the only other thing that you can do. And like I say, it takes time to get it to that second or third page. Most people will stop at the second or third page going looking for things. But so that's one of the things that if you get a bad negative review and you need to get that pushed down, that is about the only way that you can make it happen. Unless you can get the company that wrote it or the newspaper that it's in to actually remove it. That's the only other way you're going to get it there. And the biggest problem is that anything that you put on the internet stays on the internet in one way, shape, or form. There's no way to get rid of it. Justine Sacco, 2013, wrote one tweet. There were 45 pictures inside of Google of that tweet. So even though she removed the tweet immediately, that tweet lives on forever. So it's really hard to make that happen. You've got to do your best to create as much positive energy as you possibly can. So my final thoughts is don't give up if it happens to you. You know, it's not life-threatening. It's not the end of the world. You can actually push that stuff down. And you can do other positive things to help. And one of the best things you could do is you fight negatives with positives. So what I suggest that you do is be proactive and get as many Google reviews as you possibly can for your business. If your business was attacked, get as many Google reviews. Everybody who has a physical location, one way, shape, or form, I work out of my home, but I still have a listing on Google Maps. I've set it up so it doesn't show my home address. But B2B interactive marketing, if you type in interactive marketing in Aurora, my name shows up. And I have Google reviews in there. Now, where it shows up in Google is on the map. If you look and you type in interactive marketing, you're going to have all the Google listings on the right-hand side, and you're going to have the map on the right-hand, or excuse me, the left-hand side, and the right-hand side is going to be the map. And if you're number one, you'll be right there. And inside of that box, it's going to say, give a review. All right? The problem is the link for that Google Maps thing is like mega long. And it's really, really hard for people to remember. And you don't ever ask anybody to type it. And if you copy and paste it, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So here's my suggestion to you guys, if you want to do that, is use a URL shortener. And there's a handful of them. One called bit.ly, it's bit.ly, all right? So you can go into bit.ly and say, shorten the URL, and it will make it, just about 12 characters long, which makes it a little easier, but it's still not super, super easy to remember. The other problem with bit.lys is bit.lys, when put into email, a lot of times will be considered spam because there are nefarious people out there that are taking bit.lys and putting them out and saying, hey, your Chase Bank is being closed. Your account's being closed and all this other stuff. Click here. And what it is, it's a masked link to a bad server that looks like your Chase account, and then you put in your information, and now they've got your credit card information. So bit.ly, unfortunately, is not the best way to do it. But it is a way to do it. If you're trying to get people to do it, it's at least one way to do it. But just be real clear. I'm using a URL shortener. Here's the original link. Here's a quick link. Put them both in there and say these are both the same link. And most of the time, the easiest way to tell if a link is real or not is you just take your mouse and you roll over it and hold it. Just leave it there for a second. Don't click it. And usually at the bottom of your browser, it will show you what the actual link will be. So that's one way to make sure that you don't get scammed or spammed. And it also, most people know how to do that, but not everybody does. So that's the other way. Now, if you have a WordPress website, and that's your business website is built in WordPress, there's a plugin called PrettyLink. It's PrettyLink. And so you can add that little plugin there, and what that plugin will do for you is turn it into your business name, and then you can put whatever you want after that. So here's the example of the full Google listing. That's, if you want to get to the map and give me a review, that's it. In PrettyLink, I changed it to b2b-im.com/review. PrettyLink will make it so it's really super easy. So that way now you could say, give us a review, and that is not considered, even though it is masking the original thing because it's not coming from bit.ly and you have a legit website, it's not seen as spam. It may be in the future. I can't promise you anything for tomorrow. You never know what's going to change today and tomorrow. But for the time being, that's not spam. So there's an easy way to be able to take that. And with PrettyLink, you can put in as many as you want. So if you have Yelp, if you have Google, if you have Facebook, you could say, b2b-im.com/Facebook review, Google review, Yelp review. So you can add that text in there, and that way you can, and so when you're done with a job, you could say to somebody, send them an email, hey, I really appreciate working with you. One of the things that we strive for is to let other people know how satisfied you are. Please give us a review. The more reviews, the more 5-star reviews you get on Google helps you also to push down some of that negative content because you're viewed as a trusted source. And if you get a negative review, obviously if you get 50, and I've seen this all the time, you know, you're going to get 50 positive 5-star reviews, and there's going to be one troll that's going to put one negative review in there, right? So if somebody had 3 reviews that were positive and 1 that was negative, how would you feel about that company? Right? Okay? If they've got 20 5-star reviews and 1 negative review, how are you going to feel about the company? A little more solid, right? 50, 100, whatever you do. So the more positive reviews you can get. And the only way you really are going to get reviews is ask for it. And as I said before, in Google, the only way that people can give you reviews is they actually have to sign into Google. So it's not a bad idea to give them instructions. Please sign into your Gmail account, use this link, and then go give us a review. And then maybe even take a picture of the screen and show them where the review button is. You know, the more you can help people to understand that, because not everybody is as technologically savvy as Ellen is. So hopefully this gives you some idea of creating a system and a plan of how to manage your online reputation. All right? So let me ask you guys, you learned something today? Good. All right. One of my favorite quotes is from Zig Ziglar, and that is, you can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get what they want. One of my favorite quotes. And that's essentially, you know, think of everything that you're doing in your customer's eyes. Help them to be successful, they will help you be successful. So, the resources that I mentioned before, this is my podcast, baconpodcast.com. If you want just a refresher of what we talked about today, I have a short little 10-minute podcast this week on reputation management. You can go listen to it. It's just going to give you a quick refresher view. Also, my blog, which is b2b-im.com/blogs with an S, or just click on the blogs button. The same information is in the blog. So if you like to read, you can read it. If you want to listen, you can listen to it. And there's a lot of good other information on all of those. So if you want to learn about Instagram, if you want to learn about Twitter, if you want to learn about Google+, if you want to learn about all those other things, there's usually short 10-minute expert interviews, 10 to 15 minutes. So it kind of gives you a decent broad brush overview of what you need to know. Obviously, there's more to learn, but I wanted to give you guys those resources. And again, if you're interested in the books, I have them here. I have a special. You can get all 3 today, much cheaper than you can get them as Amazon, or you can just buy one if you want. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to leave it at that. I want to open up the floor for any questions, thoughts, or comments. Yes?
With Facebook, you know, they always say about boosting, and it's, any suggestions with that?
Well, Facebook, okay, first and foremost on Facebook when we're talking about advertising, business pages do not organically show up in people's news feeds anymore. They don't. Because Facebook and all of the other social media have done the same thing. I mean, LinkedIn just recently went through a complete renovation. Microsoft bought it. They took away a whole bunch of things that for only $800 a year you can buy back. Yeah. It's called Sales Navigator. So if you want the ability to tag people and do those things, so the social media platforms have changed. Boosting is a quick way to get your stuff shown to a group of people. But the problem with boosting is it's the most expensive advertising on Facebook. The best way to do advertising on Facebook is actually set up a Facebook ads account and then do targeting. And there's lots of things that you can do inside of targeting, including you can take your customer list, export just the email addresses, import into that list, and it'll actually go find all those people, and you can target just those people. Or you can create what's known as a lookalike audience, who would be friends of those people who are not your customers, and actually target them. So there's lots more that you can do, and it's much more cost effective. And it all depends on what your goal is. Do you want to get them to your website? Do you want to get them to like your page? What is it that you're trying to get them to do? Depending on what the goal is, the cost varies. But usually you can get it down to 15 cents, 20 cents a click if you target right. Where boosting, the cost per click is just, and all it does is put your stuff in front of people. It doesn't generally get a lot of response. So, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yes?
I did a Facebook boost, and it said I had 82 shares. Where do I find out who shared that?
You have a Facebook post?
Like
Okay, well, it should show you, there should be a place on there that shows you shares.
I wonder if it's not on mobile, if it's only on.
It probably, check desktop, yeah, because mobile and desktop are two slightly different interfaces.
Because
But
when I did it, I didn't think about they were sharing it for dark side reasons.
yeah, people could, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll give you guys a quick tip. One of the things that I do is when I post things for my business, like my podcast or my blog or something like that, I put it on my business page and then I share it to my personal page. There's different algorithms and there's also different analytics that you get on your personal side and your business side. Your business side, that you have to go into insights and look at it. It's a little bit more confusing. On the personal side, it's really straightforward. Somebody shares it, it says right there 3 shares. And then you can click on it and you can actually see a list of all the people who shared it. So, but it's on the business pages, it's kind of buried. It's in, you'll probably find it inside of Insights. All right? Yes?
What's the real difference between SEO and social media marketing?
Okay, so SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. All right? SEO is 100% based on trying to get your brand to show up and your website to show up inside of Google better. All right? So that's, and I'm of the opinion, there are varying opinions on this, that SEO, I did SEO once, all right? And that's it. And I don't pay for it all the time. And even my customers, I set up SEO once for them and they don't pay for it anymore. All right? So that is just, it's going to give you a little bit of a boost. But the problem is that Google changed all the algorithms. All right? So they no longer pay attention to SEO. And this is true story. Years ago, when Google first came out, the best way to get your website #1 on Google was to go into what's known as the meta tags and just put in sex, 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 have hidden text on your page that had sex, sex, sex on there in white. And because that was one of the most searched things, you would go automatically to the top. So Google has been fighting that forever. Yep. So now what Google concentrates on is content. All right? And the content is, if you're adding a blog post, for example, they look at the title first, the first paragraph, and then they look at the rest of it. Does that content on your website match the expectations when somebody does a search? So that's what search engine marketing does. Now, that's SEM. Now, social media, if you take, and this is the way I work it, and it's also, this is what this whole book is about, this whole system, and Ellen's gone through the course and has learned this many, many times. What you do is you create content, like a blog post, all right? If you can create content, even taking pictures and videos and stuff like that, and get it on your website, share that from the website to social media, all right? When people click on that, they end up going back to your website, and that drives traffic, and that also raises you in the rankings, because that's content marketing. So you're creating everything on your main website, and then using social media to drive traffic back to your website. So that's how that works. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Good. Yes?
I just wanted to say, like, getting Google reviews is definitely a challenge. Like, where you showed us where you have the link shortener and you send it to them.
Right.
First off, we go through our customer list, see if they even have a Gmail, so that already eliminates
Right.
a percentage of them. And then I went a step further. I know you can, like when you click write a review and the page pops up with the stars, you could actually link that page so that pops up.
Right.
And we did that, and even then, it's still a challenge.
It is a challenge, yeah. Yeah, you can do it both ways. You can link it directly to that. The problem is that it's easy. They want to see the legit, they want to see that it's not that they're writing a review, because you could send a review, write a review, and it's not 100% there. Yes.
Brian, I've been reading some things on LinkedIn about actual publishers and the struggle they're having with, readership on Facebook, and there's been a lot of drops. The other question I had related that way is that I've noticed already that real content that's on Facebook that seems better and more original is getting more reach.
Right.
Is there an algorithm that is instantly measuring, the quality of your content, if it looks like a repeat sort of thing, even images or something like that? Is there an algorithm that applied to that?
Yes, there is an algorithm applied to that. I have no clue what it is.
So the more original, but as a general rule,
Yeah.
what I've seen is the more original, like a headline or something that seems
Right.
distinctive and it has a news-like feel,
Right.
versus sort of a repeat something or a.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, this is kind of the tip that I teach everybody is there's a reason behind the quote of the day and the caption contest. Is because the quote of the day every single morning, which is just a picture, that actually I share from a program on my phone, just goes to Twitter, goes to Facebook. People usually, I'll get somewhere between 20 to 50 people who like it and between 5 and 10 shares, all right? What that does is because I'm getting so much engagement with that, it actually raises me up in the algorithm. And then the caption contest at night, I'm usually getting about 50 to 75 comments and about 20 likes, which again raises me up in the algorithms so that when I do post something that is newsy, here's my latest blog post, that shows up in people's news feeds more. So the more content that you're posting to people that they engage with, it's not just they see it, they engage with, it raises you up in their algorithm, meaning that your stuff is going to show up in their news feed more. Because I've got 3,500 friends, if I saw everything that everybody posts, I wouldn't see anything, right? So the whole algorithm is based on the more that people are engaging with you, the more you're engaging with them, the more your stuff shows up. So yes, that's essentially how the algorithm works. Yes, original stuff is better. Nothing wrong with link stuff, because a lot of people put link stuff. But it just depends on the topic. It depends on trending topics too. You know, when somebody, I hate to be morbid, but when somebody dies, Aaron Moran, you know, from Happy Days died, I mean, that was a trending topic. If you posted that in there because it's a trending topic, everybody else is going to see.
She died. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So, but more people are going to see that because it's a trending topic. The algorithm picks that up more. So, you know, it depends on what you're talking about, what trending topics. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that go into it. But yes. Does that answer your question? Good. Yes.
Besides the social media icons you have up on the screen with maybe with the addition of Instagram, are there any other up and coming social media platforms that you recommend that is important having a presence on?
Well, it depends on what you do. It really depends on what you do. What do you do?
We do all of those and Instagram.
No, your business.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Batavia Park District.
Oh, the Park District, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the Park District, that's right. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, we just met today, so. Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on who your audience is, number one, okay? Yeah, well, I know that. I know it's everyone, yeah. But I can tell you this much, Grandma's not on Snapchat, all right? But the kids are on Snapchat. The kids are on Instagram, all right? Kids are leaving Facebook in droves because their mothers are on there. So if you want to reach the moms and grandma, you have to go on Facebook. Twitter is for millennials. Also text alerts, you know, so text. If you can get people's text information, that's something you can add there too. But Pinterest, you know, for your craft fairs, for your for the wedding expo, those things. I mean, when somebody's specific to that, Pinterest is the place where you post crafts, weddings, jewelry, that kind of stuff. So it depends on where your audience is, and what I really strongly suggest is just don't shotgun everything. Focus on each audience on the platform where they're at. Very important. And I talk about that a lot in my classes and books and too. It's targeting your ideal audience where they're at, speaking to them in a way that they want to be spoken to. So, any other questions?
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Somebody like Yodel, are they like worth the investment?
You want my personal opinion?
Absolutely.
No.
Because I feel like we're being posed for what we're being.
Yeah, no. Well, here's the deal with any of those. Okay, everybody says we're going to make you number one in Google. We're going to make you number one. We're going to boost you. We're going to give you all this other stuff. Okay. Nobody cares about Bing. Nobody cares about Yahoo anymore. Google owns 80% of the entire space, and Google is on every device pretty much. It is the default on every phone. You know, the only place where Bing shows up is if you buy a brand new Microsoft computer. Okay. So here's the deal. This is the way I talk about this, and Ellen, you've heard it a million times. I call it the 3-to-1 ratio. If you're making 3 times what you're paying them a month, then it's worth it. Same thing with SEO. If you can make 3 times what you're spending on SEO a month, then it's worth it. If you're not making 3 times, and you have to check that and make sure it's a legit number, don't do it. And I know people that have used Yodel and spent $4,000 and got 0 business. Yes? Yelp is better, but Yelp is the same thing. Yelp, it's hard. If you're not getting 3 times the return on investment, don't pay for it. There's other better places to invest that money where you'll see an ROI. Yes?
I drive a Ford.
You drive a Ford? Okay.
And it's got the whole sync thing.
Right.
So I cannot get it to give directions to me at my office. It still gives directions to somebody who was there a year and a half ago.
Okay.
How do I get that name changed? Ford's using Bing, but it's the only thing that they use.
Right. No, I understand that. And the problem is that with GPSs, there are chips inside of them, and they have to be updated every once in a while. Like I've got a Nissan Rogue, and it's $200 to replace the chip. So don't feel bad about being called somebody else, unless that's it. It's usually that it's a card or a chip that does that. Once it's programmed, it's really hard to unprogram. You get a new chip, you can reprogram it.
So buy a new car.
Yeah, buy a new car. It's a great reason to buy a new car. Right. All right. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something today. I'll stick around for questions. If you want some books, they're here. They're available on Amazon. And Holly, thank you so much for letting me present and teach everybody about reputation management.
Thank you very much, Brian. Before you put your papers and pens away, I have a couple of upcoming events that are happening through the Batavia Chamber that I would love to share with you. We have our golf outing coming up. I know that not everyone golfs, but we're also going to be incorporating an expo. So for $25, you can have a booth space during our dinner and after party, after people come back from golfing. So reach out to Lindsay. She'd be happy to get you set up for a table there. And even though we did not have bacon on the menu today, it is called our 43rd annual Putts and Pigs Golf Classic. So because we do a pig roast as our dinner that evening. So
That's big bacon.
Big bacon.
Big bacon.
Big pigs. So that is on Friday, June 23rd. It's going to be at Mill Creek Golf Club. So we've changed the location and the day of the event. It's usually been on a Monday. We're turning it to a Friday in hopes that people will feel more free to drink more and spend more on options. It's the truth, people. I'll have some cocktails and throw some money at the chamber.
Holly, I would not put that up on Facebook.
Hey, but I'm here with you right now. I hope nobody's lying with that. But it's a great event. It's tons of fun. If you golf or don't golf, come for just the pig roast at the end and come and hang out and network with us. Obviously a reduced fee for just dinner only. Our next networking event, which is our free and open networking offered through the chamber members, non-members, invite your friends over. It is now, we are always coupling that with a cause. So we donate, we ask people to give a $10 donation at the door. For this month is going to be Mutual Ground. Last week we had for Tri-City Health Partnership, we raised $817 for them. Wow. So, and we guess that there are about 100 people there. So a lot of people from not only the Tri-City Health Partnership, but also from our chamber and outside of the chamber love to come to those events. So please join us on May 17th from 5 till 7 p.m. at Wilson Street Tavern. Again, this time we will be collecting donations for Mutual Ground. We will have a free taco bar provided by Salsa Verde, the Mexican restaurant in Batavia. So all the reasons to come to that event. Margaret and Lindsay will be there. You'll feel good about giving a donation to Mutual Ground. You get free tacos, and I'm sure that he will have a wonderful cash bar for all of you to get a drink and give money back to the chamber. The last thing I'm going to mention, I know we're on a time crunch here, it's a little bit after 1, but 90 days, the first 100 days of the Trump administration, we have partnered with the Aurora Regional Chamber to present this on May 3rd. So it will be kind of a recap of what has happened, what their projections are, and hopefully it will be a great education for all of us on how to take this through what is happening in the Trump administration. So hopefully you wrote all those dates down. If not, check our events calendar on the chamber website, and we'd love to have any of you join us for those events. Register online. What's that? It is May 3rd. Thursday, right? Friday? Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday, May
lunch.
3rd. And it's at Bell Cell Banquets in Aurora on New York Street, I think.
Sorry, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday, May 3rd. Wednesday, May 3rd. Thank you.
Get money to the chamber?
I'm never gonna bet that we will have a table there where you can register for events and, you know, I don't know, we'll start putting a fishbowl out. Big tips too. Just kidding. I hope that you enjoyed yourselves. We will be sending a survey out to check in with you and see if this is a great topic. And if you want us to continue doing stuff like this, let us know, please. We love having you here and hope that you value your membership in the Batavia Chamber. So thank you and have a great day.